Check, 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 check. Hello, everybody. Meteorologist Kevin Phelps here. We're going to give everybody a few minutes to kind of join in on Facebook. You got, what else do we got? We got YouTube. We're sending this out over the stream, so bear with me as I get the rest of this set up, and then we'll start talking about what we got going on. So obviously, we are going to be dealing with quite the dynamic system. I'm trying to see if that is actually pushing out. Let's see here. I can't tell if the stream is actually up and running. Can anybody confirm that for me before I really start going in on this? It says CTV on, so I just want to make sure that. Let's see if this. Yeah, I don't know if it's playing or not, so I might end up having. It's LNL. Okay, once Emma gets in here, I'll have her see if she can pop it on, because for whatever reason, it says that it's on our stream, but it obviously isn't working. So we'll just do this for our Facebook friends and everything like that right now. So, all right, obviously you're probably aware that we have a first alert day in effect. This is going to be for really kind of multi-fold here, and we'll get into a lot of this here in just a second. So obviously, thanks for joining us here early on your Thursday morning. We have quite the dynamic setup. We're going to have a storm system that's going to be bringing us thunderstorms and the chance for some snow. Now, for a lot of our area, we're kind of just sandwiched in between everything. So that is something that we'll obviously kind of talk about here in just a second. So here's the latest on your first alert day. First and foremost, this is going to be for some strong and maybe some severe storms. Areas east and southeast of the Quad Cities are most favored for that. And if we're talking about one specific event being a bigger threat than the other, it's large hail to about an inch in diameter, which is the threshold for a severe thunderstorm. Now, this being said, this is all talking about that freezing level being lower than it typically is during our kind of main severe weather season. So that makes it a little bit more efficient at producing hail today. In terms of damaging wind, it's really going to be just on the edge of our viewing area. And I'm not really overly concerned about the isolated tornadic threat, at least for us in the TV6 viewing area. So here's kind of a timeline of this, and I'll kind of bring this full, and I will start, for whatever reason, these touchscreens are being a little not touchy here today. So here's the timeline. Some thunderstorms really start to fire up around 2 o'clock. I'll draw on your screen here for this. And then by 4, 5, and 6 o'clock this evening is really that time frame right there that I highlighted with the yellow pencil. That would probably be the threat for maybe a little bit of hail. And you can see that's well evident here. By 6 p.m. that's a little bit lighter than the rest of the area. The 60-mile-an-hour winds, it's kind of the lightest shade there, so it's not really a big threat, but it's overnight that we're going to see a rain-snow line setting up. And I want to highlight this because we are going to see what likely looks like some accumulating snow. Now, the deal is it's going to be wet and very heavy, and we have been very warm. So a lot of what initially falls on contact melts. So this is going to create this scenario where you technically could pick up 4, maybe 5 inches of snow just northwest of our viewing area, but it only looks like an inch or two on the ground because it gets so compacted so quickly. So with that being said, the effects of this system are going to be kind of in the minimal category. So kind of very, very low wind, more kind of a nuisance for some of us. So as we kind of move forward with the severe weather threats, I'll pull this back full for you so you can kind of get an idea of what I've been talking about. So areas highlighted in the yellow do include Sterling to Kewaunee and Princeton. I think this is going to coincide with that large hail threat. So notice that light shade of blue. What does that mean? Well, you have about a 5% chance here of having hail within 25 miles of a point. So that corresponds with, hey, look at Sterling to Kewaunee, Princeton, anywhere in this area will have the chance for maybe some large hail. Now, see how this transitions to the damaging winds. As I click on this, winds of 58 miles per hour gritters down towards Highway 34 or south of it. We're talking the southeastern edge there of Knox County. So this doesn't appear to be a major severe weather threat for us. I'll turn tornado one on in just a second. I'm just trying to get my comments and everything pulled up so I can make sure that we can hear what everybody is asking or talking about. Again, the tornadic threat is going to be isolated. This is going to be something that I think kind of sets up over the Peoria area. I do not think this is one of these days where we're going to have a widespread severe weather outbreak or anything like that. So the big deal is, or at least in terms of what we would typically like to see in terms of thunderstorm energy, you would want this graphic right here to be highlighted really in that high category. And then that would correspond with some oranges and some whites. However, a lot of us are just in this low end category. So these type of events in our area tend to be more of a hailer for us and not so much on the tornadic side of things because there's just not a lot of energy for storms to use. And notice by 9 and 10 o'clock, there's essentially no energy for thunderstorms to tap into, meaning that severe weather threat closes for spring-like thunderstorm activity. But I think our focus here moving forward into the overnight is more so with that kind of wet and heavy snow. So here's a look at ExactTrack showing you that rain starts to move in around 3 and 4 o'clock this afternoon. Yes, there's that window opening up for some strong storms, but the rain snow line setting up to our north and west. By 6:30 this evening, we're kind of in the thick of it in terms of rainfall and rumbles of thunder. So specifically, if from Tipton to Maquoketa to Galena and probably into Aledo, just west there of Sterling, I'm not concerned about severe weather for you today, but don't be surprised if you hear some rumbles of thunder. It might be nice to hear that for the first time in a while, but as you get towards 9 in the morning, or say 9 in the evening, the severe weather window closes, and I'm going to pull this full for you. You can kind of see something interesting, as you can kind of see this area of low pressure kind of just spinning right here. Typically when we see that, that's a good indication of a lot of lift in order to produce strong storms. So you kind of see those oranges out near Princeton. That's why we have that threat for maybe some large hail up to the size of 1 inch in diameter, which again is just that threshold for a severe thunderstorm. Now the rain snow line becomes more important as we get into the overnight hours, but at least in terms of rainfall, we are going to pick up some much needed rain. We certainly have been dealing with fire conditions. We have dry and drought conditions, and we've had a lot of wind. The deal with this, yes, we're going to get a nice drink here today. This is going to certainly soak into the soil. I'm not concerned about runoff because we've been so warm. We should be able to soak this in. But as winds pick up here on Friday, we're going to quickly evaporate any sort of snow or I say moisture out of the soil. And then that is something that is going to kind of dry things out pretty quickly. Now I want to start focusing on the snow here tonight. We are not under any sort of winter weather advisories in the viewing area as of this stream. Now, as you kind of look, Galena and Maquoketa are right on the edge. This is one of these scenarios where a 5-mile shift south could rapidly increase snowfall amounts. There's a very tight gradient out there. Now notice this says 1 to as much as 6 inches. Yeah, that's no joke right there. Problem is it's going to be compacted, and I don't think we're going to see much of this having an impact on area roads. You might want to take a look at that. Yeah, so we've got to figure that out. So for our friends that are joining us on YouTube and Facebook right now, we're just kind of looking to see how our stream is working, and might just have to end up resetting it afterwards. So, well, let's just keep running for now. And then
Yeah, I don't know if it's actually going anywhere.
yeah, okay. Yeah, well, we'll get that figured out here later today. But otherwise, the winter weather, as you kind of look at the slick travel impacts, areas highlighted in that lighter shade of yellow, considered that minor disruptions. So this would be things like brushing off your car, maybe getting a little bit slippery just inside your neighborhood streets. But the thing is, a lot of this happens between 10 o'clock tonight and 3 o'clock tomorrow morning. Not a lot of us are out at that time. I mean, I am. We got to be coming into the station, but this is not one of these systems that's impacting a lot of morning commutes here. So that's why I think the threat's kind of on the very lower end of it, despite having snow that could be a little jarring after the warm weather we've had this week. So here's kind of the setup that we have right now. As I draw your attention towards Kansas City, we have this area of low pressure kind of getting to set up. This is what's going to be moving directly over our area this afternoon. Areas on the north side of it, we're talking snow. Areas south and east of it, we're talking showers and thunderstorms with that severe weather threat kind of setting up into parts of central and eastern Illinois. So that's kind of the setup that we have here today. So we have ExactTrack going until 12:30. That rain snow line is setting up directly along the Mississippi. And then those deeper blues are going to continue to push just north of our area. So as you look there from Galena right into southern Wisconsin, that would be talking about very heavy snowfall because this rain switches over to snow, big snowflakes, Yes, it's easy to accumulate on grassy surfaces. Again, a lot of this melts on contact, but this does continue here right into those overnight hours. So by 5:45, snow quickly wraps up. By 8:30 tomorrow morning, we're done with any sort of precipitation, and then we focus on the wind machine here on Friday afternoon. So here's that snowfall gradient I was talking about. Well, it might say 6 to 8 inches here for Galena. Might be 6 to 8 inches if you're continuously out there measuring it. By the time you get out and measure it, it's going to be super compacted. So a lot of this is going to melt on contact. I expect this to be on grassy surfaces in the Quad Cities. You might wake up to a little bit of snow to brush off your car or your back patio, but roads will be just fine. So it's kind of one of these scenarios where if winter storm does develop, the impact's fairly minimal out of this, but it is something that is probably a little jarring after the week that we've had, and maybe hearing thunder and then snow as just to say that we're still in winter, but we're transitioning into that spring season. Now, speaking of precipitation, over the next 6 to 10 days, our weather pattern still looks to remain somewhat active, and meaning that we could have above normal precipitation. At the same time, this will be accompanied with warmer than normal temperatures, if I can speak there correctly. Been speaking for about 3 hours already this morning. But with these warmer than normal temperatures, you got to put it in perspective. Average highs are close to 40, so we could have a string of days in the 40s and 50s here heading into next week, and then we'll kind of take the active weather pattern on a day-by-day case. But with the gusty winds here on Friday afternoon, I want to reiterate, while we have those dry conditions right now and a high fire danger, yes, we are going to get some much needed rain and even snowfall to kind of help improve those conditions. At the same time, it's very temporary. As you get those gusty winds here tomorrow afternoon, that will dry out all of our soil and tinder very quickly. And as we get to the 40s and 50s next week, how do you get there? You have south winds and you have sunshine. What does that mean? That's a recipe for low dew points, low relative humidity, and increasing fire danger. So we're not out of the woods just yet for that. In fact, really from late February into early April, that's our peak grass fire season. So until we start to green things up in the month of April, we'll continue with that risk. It's been every single day this week that we've had a grass or brush fire, whether it's been here or just outside the viewing area. So still smart to avoid outdoor burning here early on. That severe weather threat is from 3 until 9 o'clock this evening, and then we'll start focusing on what looks to be that chance for maybe a little bit of snow here, especially north and west of the Quad Cities, and we're going to take that pretty much on an hour-by-hour case, especially this evening, because a shift of only 5 miles could make some significant changes for snow. As far as the severe weather threat, a shift by 5 miles is not going to change our setup for that. So with that, we'll kind of wrap this up, hop back into the Facebook Live comments, and feel free to jump in there, and I'll comment there throughout the day. So thanks for joining, and obviously we'll be back here throughout the day. Kyle Keel and I believe Deanna Rodriguez will be in here for the midday hours, and then of course Chief Meteorologist Eric Maitland will have you updated on air here and of course online here throughout your evening.